Today I am sitting with Tiffany Lekuku, right? Lekuku. And I actually met Tiffany on Instagram. I know it's crazy, but actually our conversation had to do more with dogs in the beginning. So I was drawn to her because I'm a dog lover and I have a very different relationship with dogs. But I think with time, I've also been drawn to her just because of her healing work. And I thought it would be interesting for us to meet Tiffany. But to meet her now as Tiffany, maybe the healer, and not Tiffany that I knew as like an influencer or that I knew as the dog lover. So I'm just going to let Tiffany introduce herself and just, hi, Tiffany.
Hello, Gogo. Togoza.
Can you maybe just tell us a little bit about yourself? And I think I'd like to know also just in terms of history, like where is Tiffany from? Because that's going to frame the context of our conversation.
Okay, so my name is Tiffany Lekuku. I was born in Zimbabwe. Both my parents are from there, although dad has roots in South Africa, deep roots in South Africa. I was born, raised there until 2004, until we made the shift. And from there on, I think we've just, reclaimed home in the soil that is here. So yeah, I've always been a curious person because of my dad. He has always allowed me space to question things. If I ever had questions on anything, he would be research it. He never just gave me the information, and I think that really fueled my curiosity and my openness. Just being given that space to be curious as a child has really helped me so much, even to this point, and that curiosity has just taken a world of its own. I've loved Harry Potter. I've loved all of those things. And my parents were, kind enough to let me be a kid and explore all of those fields and the sci-fis and just question and explore, with my curiosity. So that curiosity obviously has led me to be way more curious as I've gotten older. I've always felt that I was different in the sense that I felt certain things deeply.
Yeah, I get you.
I've even been accused, I guess, of being older than I am in spirit.
That's so much like me.
Yeah, being older than I am in spirit. And as I've gotten older and understanding, taking upon the work that I'm doing, is there's been, spiritual work and alignment that has really sat in me as a child from birth. That I think a bit of the third eye was closed, but has fully been open now, and just
That's so crazy.
And just being open to going back to the practices and principles that I've had as a child has really led to me exploring my spirituality a bit more, but just as a background is, just trying to keep it as short and as close-ended as possible. It's the curiosity that I've always had and feeling so much as a child.
But because for me it's there's always something, there's always one major thing that happens to you for you to know that, okay, there's a difference between me being different and me being gifted. And I just want to know, what was that for you,
Yeah. So for me, it's so obvious. And I just look back on it and I'm like, wow, it's always been there, and for me, it's been my dreams. I have crazy prophetic dreams, and I just thought everyone
dreamed
had that. I really did. I just felt okay, there's no ways no one is dreaming, or, it's not normal.
Yeah.
Until certain things started happening around me and in close people's lives, and I would just get chills and be like, oh my gosh, and then people would be like, what, you dreamt that? That's crazy. And then I was like, oh wow, that doesn't happen to you. And they're like, no. So it really made me sit and be like, okay,
Shucks.
Maybe there's something that I've taken for granted from birth that really is there with me.
That's so crazy.
Yeah.
So, the reason I'm having the chat with you is because I was so interested in how did you know, Guti, the route for you, or the beginning route is not ubungoma? Like, what drove you more to like the tarot and to the crystals and whatever? Like, because obviously when we became healers, or I became a healer, I say we because I'm not alone. That was the only option that was presented to me, you know. So I'm very curious about how all of a sudden you guys can do cards. Why wasn't this option presented to people like me, you know?
Yeah.
So I just want to know, like, what drew you there? Were you guided? Was it a physical choice? How did you get into the space where it's not just Tiffany, but it's like Tiffany and suddenly tarot?
Yeah. So I've grown up in a very Christian home, a very Christian background. So this wasn't, the option of Mungoma hasn't been an option, as a step, like as a first entry point, because it's not something in the current physical reality that the family has seen up close and personal, So for me as a child, I've always been drawn to crystals. I really have. It's nothing new. For my family to see. I've always been drawn to esoteric knowledge and, again, the Harry Potters, the Star Wars, it's as if as a child, the nurturing was there, the curiosity already was being fueled, and, the progression of it to this point felt very natural to me. It's always been in my heart, to create a platform and space. I just didn't know what it looked like. And with COVID, and I read the shift in the cosmos and all of that stuff that was happening, the amplification of transformation, I really felt like, okay, it's time for me to get out of my shell. And it felt like a push more than anything, and just getting into it it felt really natural, but it felt like it was time to get out of my shell, because people needed the community and the platform and the alternative way of healing.
I think for me also what was interesting is how, like, when we do a lot of stuff now, we use digital as a platform. So I don't know if you know, but I work in digital, right? And it's always been like the most fascinating place for me as a person, just not as a healer, but as a person, because it's like, geez, you can communicate, geez, you can create whatever you want. But obviously being someone who came into healing a few years ago, I would say it to people who say, one day I want to use digital to get across to people, but I didn't know like how my healing work would be able to merge with the digital sphere, and that's how the term New Age Sangoma actually came up. It was me trying to say to myself, in the future, I'd really like to bring the New Age into the old. And I think with what you're doing, when I see your work, I'm like, geez, she's doing it and she's doing it so well. So I wanted to know, Guti, in terms of your creativity and stuff, do you feel like you being a creative has sort of helped or bridged off of your healing gift? Like, do you see these two things as something that are together, or do you see them as separate entities?
No, absolutely. Like, they go together. I mean, my previous job was in advertising, and I've always loved, magazines, the Anna Wintour world, and aspiring to be an editor of this, like those. I really grew up on like heat and pop culture, so the creativity of it has always been there for me, and I really feel it's helped. Even just the advertising background has helped me so much, because I work like a dog in advertising, and now I can do anything. I can be a copywriter, I can be a content creator. It's really aided into my ability to create the platform and the output very, I don't want to say seamlessly, but it's required less effort because of the learnings and the teachings from that. So I'm very grateful for advertising, because it taught me so much that I can pull into the business as a result.
So cool.
Yeah,
that's so cool. So I think the other thing, because I'm quite like I probe myself mentally sometimes, and like I know some of the questions are a bit personal, but I want to know, like, what has healing done for Tiffany as a person, because I feel like we give so much as healers, and sometimes like I want to know if there's a benefit to you. And I'm asking this because in the beginning it was like, why would I want to do that, like why would I want to help people all my life? So are there any benefits for you?
Absolutely. Like the benefits have been healing for myself, you know what I mean? In the absence of therapy, in the absence of seeing a psychology, because I've been anxiety and depression prone myself, and just seeing what I'm currently doing, how it helps people, it really, really like heals me. It's the healing that I didn't know that I needed myself. And in the past year since starting it, I mean, a lot of people would never guess the circumstances that I started Nuru under, and the community that has grown in the past year from it has really saved my life. It really has kept me going. So it's been hugely beneficial, and I've seen, how much light it fills me with, and it fuels me every day to be of service. It really is my life calling. And I've always wondered what my life calling is, and really getting into this, it just cements it for me. And I'm so grateful to, to really realize it in real time, because some people go the rest of their lives not knowing what their calling is.
That's so hectic. I'm actually getting emo because I'm like, I think you get it, like I speak to a lot of people who I think either have just come into healing, and for them it's like it was for me. It was like the worst thing that could ever happen. But I think there's like a switch that happens at some point in your life, and it's few people actually that I sit with, and like they can explain it to me the way you're explaining it. So I think I'm not gonna confirm or deny it, but I think you're on the right path. But I want to know also, what is the next chapter then of this? Because Nuru for me already looks like, a dream. When you literally walk into someone's dream and you can sort of point out that, geez, this person has such a huge imagination. Is there like more that we can expect? Is there more that we can see? Put us into Tiffany's mind as to healing with Tiffany and where she's taking us.
So, our tagline for the brand is rediscover well-being, and we come from an age where we've seen what wellness looks like, and we've seen what wellness looks like pre-COVID, but well-being is encompassing of spirituality.
Yes.
And spirituality looks absolutely different, from you and me and our experiences of it, our backgrounds of it, and the sensitivities around certain beliefs around it, play a massive role. And for me, I just want to facilitate people's, healing process, people's awakening, and God, whoever you believe in, whatever entity, whatever spirit guide you walk with and pray to, I just want to facilitate holding space for you to meet them at your purest form, and they do the rest of the work. You know what I mean? So even being called a healer for me, I'm like, that's heavy, because I just see myself as a facilitator for the healing. God does the healing, ancestors do the healing, deities do, there's so many people bigger than me. I just see myself as a medium. But with regards to the brand, it's just an ongoing continuation of that. As you see with the sound bars, as you see with the retreats, I just plan on doing more of that my spirit is guided to do. You can't really plan, I can see in my mind's eye what I want to do, but the end goal for me is just, I really want people to know that we are spirit beings, and the things of the flesh are so, they're so come and go. They're very whatever. And if we can just understand who you are as yourself, if you can go inward, then the work is done for me. And I just want to facilitate and encourage so many people to just look at a different way of existing and being, just going inward, even if it's through alternative, even if you're coming to the samba because you're like, wow, this looks cool on Instagram, and you have a completely life-changing experience. I'm like, the job is done.
Sure.
And because I think people look at wellness and they're like, oh no, it's meant to be like this, and But yeah, that's just the job. That's the essence of it. It's just trying to help you come back to yourself.
And when you sit alone with Tiffany, right? Why do you think it was her that was chosen and not someone else? Because I ask you a lot of the stuff I ask myself, right? Because we all have that why me question, and I think at some point we do get the answer as well. But I just want to know, like, why do you think Tiffany?
I mean, I don't know how to answer this without seeming cliche, but I really truly believe that we're all called for different things. And if you are still enough and go back to the essence of who you are, you will understand what your calling is, what your purpose for life is. I'm very blessed that I come from a family of very strong believers of God and the church, and I think my gift has just manifested in a way that is very much spiritual. As much as I'm still rooted in the church, it's taking a form in a different way, but the healing of it or the work of it is still the same. So I believe it's a gift within the family.
Yeah.
It has just taken form in a different way.
So crazy.
So it is crazy. But yeah, I've made it manifest in this way, or been chosen for it to manifest in this way for various reasons. But yeah, as I said, I feel we are all called obviously for different things. But when something is in the family,
Yeah, I get it. I get it fully. So if I'm focusing now on the healing aspect of Tiffany, as me, Nje Ukokonomi, if I'm coming to see you, what can I expect? Like, because I think there's so many different ways of healing people, and I think obviously because mina ngisangoma, a lot of people would just expect a certain way of doing, and then some people come into my space and it's like a completely different feeling or experience. So like, what is it that if I came to Tiffany I'm coming to or coming for, and how does a day or a session look like?
So with our sound bots in particular, because that is the main I guess medium of just healing that I use with the use of frequency, it's really a process of surrender. It's really a process of surrender. It's really allowing you to feel what needs to come out, what needs to release. I'm loving it. I'm really, really loving the sound bots as a medium, because it's a form of healing and connection for people that I haven't seen so up close.
Yeah.
And seeing different people's interactions with it has been mind-blowing for me. So just to answer your question, it's really a process of surrender. One interaction or interactions don't look the same.
Yeah.
I just wake up, pray, be guided onto what this is gonna look like, and just allow that session to be what it is.
Yeah.
For
so
people,
cool.
and just hold the necessary space, because many different things come up. So I've learned to really open myself up to the empathy and the weight that sometimes people need you to hold for them.
Because that's a lot.
It's a lot. Yeah, but it's welcomed. Just seeing people light up, seeing people have aha moments is so humbling.
It is.
It is incredibly humbling, and I don't take it for granted at all.
Sure.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna cap our conversation there, right?
Okay.
And the reason is because I feel like if people want to know about you, I'll share your information. I will make it accessible to everyone who's listening here, so that they can actually experience you themselves. But, for me, it's like, it's rare for me to meet other healers who, when I sit with them, the energy feels like home. So I just want to say thank you for letting me have this chat with you, and just being with you today. I think I've learned quite a bit, so thank you for allowing us into your space. Thank you so much for sharing the information that you've shared with us. And I think more than anything, I always say, Mina, I share because I respect different people's gifts, and I think it's important for people to know, like this is not like a one size fits all kind of thing. Yeah, and I think for me, it's like I want people to know that outside of coming to me as Isangoma, there's like other options, you know. I also want other people to know that for themselves, especially as African healers, that there's more options, you know. So that's the reason I wanted to sit with you and have this conversation. I know that it's still going to be a journey for you as well, but I just want to know, like, if like you had parting words to say to someone or to motivate especially someone who's struggling with the gift, because I use this as therapy for myself. I still struggle and it's years and years later, but like what do you say to a Tiffany before Tiffany becomes a healer?
The biggest thing that I've struggled with is surrendering. Surrendering and trusting, especially if it's something that you haven't seen, you know, in the way that I'm doing it in the family, you know, and it's been pastors in the past, it's pastors in the present. Just understanding that the gift manifests itself in a different way and just surrendering to your own specific journey, and not carrying the weight of what you think certain things should look like, you know. Just really honestly surrendering. There's no other way, because pushing against it, I'm sure you know, is so detrimental to yourself. What is meant for you, like God has a plan for your life, and He knew before you were born that this is what you need to do. And the more you push against that, the more struggle you feel in your body and spirit, the restlessness. So if you just say, God, I trust you, guide me, lead me, you know, this is above me, take control, that's what will happen. And that's really been my prayer every day, because it has not been easy.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, no, thank you. I think you've left my heart like super, super warm. But yeah, we'll chat again, obviously. Maybe on the podcast or maybe in person. But thank you. Loved this conversation. Yo.